I know that we constantly have new players going in and out, but and so all of you all have a pretty good handle on some of the things that have happened in the past. But I wanted to bring some of that stuff up as a refresher in some cases, and maybe new for some people. Example: the Black Flowers roleplay. I don't know if any of you here were here during the Black Flowers. Nightmare's Tears. Okay. Zandalin? Excellent. Oh, yes. Of course, Amalekite. Yes, of course. So, if you were here, go ahead and, yeah, raise your hand or something. I know that, yes, Jalil Thorn, definitely. And Zandalin was just on the outskirts. Keeper's Dale, I remember. Because during those days, we had 50 different sims as part of the GA, and the Nightmare Tears were all over the place. But, you know, yes, I had to shave things off a little bit, because, believe it or not, 50 is a lot. And and I was going to school full time and working full time at the same time, all at the same time. It's about 10 years ago. As a matter of fact, I've been reminded that it was last week was the 10th anniversary of the Nightmare's Tears roleplay. It's interesting. But anyway, I wanted to remind people of some of these larger scale role plays that we have done over the time. Nightmare's Tears being one of them, commonly referred to as the Black Flowers. And then more recently, of course, there's been several others, but there's one. And then there was the Queen's roleplay. Five Queens roleplay was the nomenclature for it. It was a Nargothrond event where he was hunting down the 5 prime queens, some of whom he succeeded in killing, and they are gone. Valshar's Coyote was his prime target, and he did not get her. Now, the Black Flowers was not a Nargoth event, and no one really knows how it occurred, but it was most certainly a convergence with one of the demi-planes, and it ended with the Lich Gage Bulch at the time being, because he was the mastermind of that, ended with his demise. So it's a pretty good event, and the end of the Nargothrond event, or the end of the Five Queens, he was banished back to hell. And then, of course, we've also had the Purple Rain, which most of you have been were here for that one, because that was a fairly recently, it was a few years ago. I think most of you have been here for 2 years or more. I'm not sure very many of you were here for Five Queens or Black Flowers, and there are others. There have been several other large scales as well. Yes, Purple Rain was part of the Fog roleplay. It was the beginning of it, and that one has been copied by other Sims in SL. It's down to the very, very tiny, minute details it was copied. All they changed was the name. They called it Crimson Rain instead of Purple Rain. Yep. And yeah, the Elemental Breaches. Yep, that was more recent one also. That was a good one. And Atoll Maru. The Atoll Maru Assaults was another large-scale roleplay that occurred. The Black Gate, where Atoll Maru actually breached this realm, and he had to be pushed back. I mean, that's a few years old, probably 5 or 6. So I think, and I'm looking at a lot of older players here. So most of you were there. Blackgate was a big role play. But more recently, it was about the time of the Purple Rain, or the Elemental Breaches, which were like almost back to back. When I added role play combat. So not only do we have meter battle, which we have had for 13 years now, going on, I think November will be our 14th anniversary, I believe. Yeah, I believe November will be our 14th anniversary. So, a few years ago, we added roleplay combat to it. So, that added a new dimension to our services that we provide to the players and the world. We still run meter combat just as well. Admittedly, back during the Black Flowers roleplay and the Five Queens, we commonly had 150 people in the field, which which was difficult. That's how that is. But that taught us a lot of things. We were crashing sims all the time. Taught us um, how to shave down lag and trial and error. It's how you learn things, you know? Adapt and overcome. One of my favorite quotes. Why do we fall down? So we can learn to stand back up. One of my very favorite quotes of all time. So, but, yes, I do remember some of those massive scale battles where we had to do it over 3 different sims. And, 150 people on in a battle is a lot, guys. Well, started having to limit the number in battles. So I wanted to keep you all to start keeping in mind some of these old things, because just because something has passed does not mean it is dead and buried. Example, something that I commonly forget to remind my Blood Knights is that when they put their armor on, that their eyes do not look the same, because, you know, something that is an easy way to identify a person is by looking at their eyes. It's, you know, all the superhero movies, you know, it's like, all right, I would know that person. I mean, I've been around them. I can look at their eyes and tell that that's who it is. But with the Blood Knights, because of my experience in that venue, when the Blood Knights, the whites of their eyes is become black. Okay, the whites of their eyes become black, and the iris of their eyes become gold. Symptoms red. I'm okay with red too. No, it's not common knowledge. It's something that only the Blood Knights know. But you all know when you see a Blood Knight that their eyes are black and red or black and gold. You know? That way you cannot identify them, whoever they were before. Even if you have intimate knowledge with a person, you know, you've known them for a long time and you've known them intimately, and you've probably gazed in their eyes a few times. But once they put that armor on, shoot, you cannot know that anymore, no matter how well you knew them before. Of course, in addition to the fact that they have enchantments on them that makes it so that they cannot be mind read, and the smell of their body becomes different. All Blood Knights have the same smell too. They no longer smell the way they did before. that also continues to hide their identity. They all smell like honeysuckle and rose, regardless what they normally smell like. You know, they all smell the same. So, of course, wolves, you know, they're going to identify a blood knight as a blood knight when they're in their armor, but, you know, that's all they're going to know. Because they all have the same smell, they all have the same color eyes. You know, they have a commonality that once they put that armor on, that makes it so that you cannot tell who they were before. And there's for a lot of good reasons. Is that way, you know, the Illithid and their minions cannot have been fighting a blood knight and didn't succeed. Let's say they fought a blood knight and they lost. Well, they cannot go out in the civilian world, quote unquote, and find that person because of their smell, or because of their brainwave pattern, or because of their eyes. You know, they can't. They are a different person. Yes, their aura. Because all that stuff changes. They cannot find that person in the rest of the world because it's all different. When they fight that blood knight, the only thing they can do is fight another blood knight. They cannot identify who they were fighting before, which prevents, you know, it's truly, it truly gives them a secret identity, you know. And that goes back to the Spider Squid Wars. None of you have played the Spider Squid Wars, the actual Spider Squid Wars, because that predates the GA. It's a thing that I used to play with Gary, and ironically, I have a couple hundred people that I am revisiting the Spider Squid Wars. I'm running a live D&D campaign at a local college campus, and we're going through the Spider Squid Wars, and reminded me that, you know, that some of my older players have not even experienced what those are like. But, you know, but a lot of you have heard of them. Not everyone, but many of you have heard of the Spider Squid Wars. And yes, I have so very little time in my life. It's not like I'm doing it very often. You know, once every 3 months, basically. But I'm doing it all day for that day I'm running it. But anyway, but it reminded me of all the older historical events that we have engaged in, and Just because something is past does not mean it cannot be pulled out again. For some of you, that will give you a sense of nostalgia. That you remember, oh yeah, I remember when this happened. And some of you, that will be completely new. It will be an entirely new event. Now, I think most of you are old enough, quote unquote, in SL to remember the Black Gate. Does anyone not remember the Black Gate? Anyone not here for the around here when the Black Gate? Okay, so Black Gate predates Trinity. Okay. All right, so about half. Yeah, Black Gate is more than 3 years old. I think Black Gate was six years old. Yeah. Yep. I remember. Yep. I remember Dean playing the levitating cards so that he would not get smacked. You know. I remember that. And I remember a few other people's events that they pulled off during that. It was pretty good. But even, the Black Gate was well sealed. I mean, both Magician and Nargaroth sealed it. So, it's highly unlikely the Black Gate can be opened. You know. But that does not mean that the Talmaru cannot find another way into here. Yes, Ondine and Star got sucked into the void. Yep, that was also that was prior to the Black Gate roleplay. The Black Gate roleplay was the end of was the return of Star and Ondine. So yeah, it was giant tentacle whale. For any of you that have ever experienced an aboleth, that there was we determined at that point that a Talmaru and one of his or her shapes is an aboleth. And yes, the Nightmare Tears is also something that could possibly return. But yes, of course, Black Gate can't be revisited, but it does not mean that Talmaru cannot come back. The Black Gate is sealed, but does not mean that Talmaru cannot come back. The Nightmare's Tears, it ended with the demise of the Lich Lord at that time. And no, that Lich Lord will never return. Yeah, aboleth is spelled correctly there. Good job. And even though that Lich Lord is gone, that does not mean that there cannot be another way that the Nightmare Tears could return, because it is possible. The Black Flowers the nightmare's tears are obviously ones that grow in the nether plane. Okay? Now, if they were common, then every undead would know about them. But they're not. So even in another plane, they're rare. They're very rare. So, but that does not mean it's impossible for them to return. Okay. Now, the Five Queens roleplay. Yes, 4 of the 5 queens are dead. If the Deep Roads could possibly have, that is distinctly possible, yes. But it would require that someone was growing them, because the Nightmare Tears cannot grow on their own. Okay? They have to be cared for and cultivated and purposefully grown. Okay? So you're not going to find Nightmare's Tears just wild out anywhere. If you find them, it's because someone put them there. They are a very rare, extremely beautiful in their own way. Flower. But okay, so five queens roleplay. Revisiting that, see if that would ever happen. One of the queens survived. One of the 5 queens did survive. So is it possible? Yes. The Nightmare's Tears are linked to the nether plane. So what do they do? They eat dead flesh and animate the skeleton underneath. Is that valuable to some people? Yes. Okay. But they would have to. Yes, they're also impervious to magic. That's correct. And they're very costly to the person who's growing them. So, anyway. Yes, they did. They also, if you get, that was our first exposure to possession. Because the Nightmare Tears can blow on you if they hit you with if they what's the best way to put it? If you're hit with their pollen, then you can be possessed. Vines grow all over you, and then you become a minion of the flowers. And no living being would be very successful in growing them. Yeah, being alive would be a detriment. He'll eat you. They'll eat you all up. Because that's what they do. But let's see here. Yeah, so so we have 1 queen left of the 5 queens roleplay. So is it possible that Nargaroth could revisit that? Yes, because he does want a body. You know, that was the whole point of the Five Queens roleplay, is that he wanted to use them, one of them. I'm trying to figure out which one. So a lich did love them. That's why they were there. That lich is gone. That we had a lich lord who had them. But anyway, so Nargaroth was seeking a body, and he needed a queen to grow it in, and that fortunately everyone stopped him. Yes, 4 of the queens died in the roleplay, but he was never successful. Now, part of the reason is that the queen has to be alive, you know? And at least 2 of those queens took their own lives in order to stop him from happening. You know? Because, yes, Nargaroth is a Duke of Hell, but he does not have resurrection. Okay? He could have brought them back as undead, but that doesn't do a whole lot of good, does it? Are they still alive? If you're undead, are you alive? No. No. You are you have an unlife because you are undead. So he failed in his mission. You know. And but yeah. But Five Queens roleplay is not necessarily. It could possibly be unsealed. Who knows? Black Gate. Gate can't be unsealed, but a Talmaru could find a new way in. Purple Rain, and then the subsequent fog, and the elemental holes. Those are pretty much, those are ended. You know, I don't see any way to bring any of those back immediately. But, because those were too recent. You know, those are too recent. So you're not likely to see any of those 3 things reappear. Excuse me. But some of the others are possibly. The breaches ended. The breaches ended when there was a huge giant role play where everyone got together and sang and danced and did this giant rain go away song. And that's when the breaches all were sealed. It's a pretty good event. Lots and lots of people involved in that one. And Purple Rain, ironically, was ended in a similar, not the same, but similar fashion. It was, and it when a lot of people got together and did a huge ritual to make the rain go away. Start drying things up. All the mushrooms began to die and lose their potency. I was also yep, exactly. That's right. And when Purple Rain ended, then the fog ends, because the fog was a product of the Purple Rain. So that was pretty good. Oh, that was pretty good. Big huge event. But that's just a few. That is just a few of the big giant events that we have had over the years. And, but, you know, since I've been running Spider Squid Wars with this college group, made me think about some of our old stuff. Yep. The whole time that role play was running, I had that song in my head every single day. It was a constant. And then there was several other songs that ended up creeping in my skull during that time as well, especially with the fogs rolling down. And it was pretty good. And that is exactly true. Yeah, it was a good one. Yep. And for people who experienced the Purple Rain, you will note that that is true. That I did pay homage to the songster when I was running that role play. Okay. So, just, you know, to remind everyone of all the old stuff, you know, that it doesn't mean that just because something's over does not mean it's dead. Some things won't reappear in the same way, that's for sure. But nostalgia exists. Example. How many people remember going to the movies and seeing those little black and white Vendu, let's see, Jaluk, those box? Okay, so how many people remember going to the movies and seeing those little black and white hot dog and popcorn and soda pop walking across the street going, let's go down to the lobby, let's go down to the lobby, let's go down to the lobby and get ourselves a snack. Alright, so nostalgia, it exists. So things can reappear. And never is going to be the same way it was before. It cannot reappear in the same way. But doesn't mean it can't happen. Because, I mean, example, can't appear in the same way. That little snippet that I just sang back in the day when that would appear across, when that would walk across the screen, it would last. Oh, excuse me. It would last for a long time, and its whole purpose was to remind you that, hey, you know what? Go outside and get some popcorn. We're selling popcorn, you know. But now, when it appears on a screen, because they brought it back, okay? They brought it back. Now, they didn't bring it back to really make you go out and get popcorn. They have all kinds of other advertising gimmicks for that, you know. They brought it back to remind you, hey, all you people out there, you remember us. That's right. We still exist. So, the delivery is different. The purpose behind it, the reason it appears, is different. And it's not really after the same function. Now, hopefully, you will decide, hey, I'm going to go out and get a snack now. Hopefully, they will do that, because in the back of their mind, that is the end result of it all. But that's not really where they're going. Got plenty other ways to do that. Like that roller coaster with the popcorn that pops everywhere, and the Coca-Cola fizzing and pouring like waterfalls and stuff. You know, really remind, you know, trying to get your taste buds up so it's like, oh yeah, I'm hungry. You know, it's just like, you know, you look at a Big Mac or a Whopper, you know, when you see it, okay, hey, you know what, it's a sandwich. But when you see it on TV, it's this humongous, sizzling, crispy bacon and you know, wet, slightly wet tomatoes, and just this tiny droplets of water on the lettuce. Yes, crispy bacon. You know, so you know they really hit you with that advertising stuff. You know, and it's not the same reason. You know, that's really what they're trying to do. You know, that's only on TV. It's only on TV. But anyway, my whole purpose is for bringing all that stuff up is to remind you that, hey, these things are out there still. And, yeah, it could happen. It could happen. Alright, so, yeah, I didn't really talk about any of the hardcore rules. I am going to be looking at some of our roleplay combat, because I want to start using more dice when you get to in your roleplay combat. I want to start using more dice in roleplay combat, so you can't just say, hey, I did this. Alright, hey, you know, that's cool. I'm glad you want to do that. But let's throw in a random number generator. Yes, it will be mandatory. In your role play combat, dice are going to be mandatory. That way, you can't just automatically say, I did this. You can intend to do that. And that's great and wonderful role playing that you should. But there is always a chance of not doing it. Well, if you can't see yourself using dice in order to make something happen, then you're God modding. Think about that. Okay? I walk into a room, I smack you upside the head, your face explodes, and your blood's just all over the wall. Alright? Is that God modding? Is that God modding? That is God modding.
Yeah, it is God modding, of course.
Okay? That is God modding.
I agree with him.
Alright. People do that. Yes, they do. Now, it would be it is great when people understand that that's not the way it's supposed to be. Okay? And I'm not saying that you have to use dice for every single thing. Okay? But when it comes to smacking somebody else upside the head, you need to pull those dice out. Okay? I'm not saying that you need to use dice because you're flipping around and I'm gonna land on my big toe after 4 flips and put my arm out in a pirouette and bam, I stick this perfect landing. Hey, you know what? More power to you, right? If that's the way you want to do it. I don't care if you want to do. But if you are gonna smack somebody else in the head, don't just say that you did it. Use dice in that case. Does that make sense? Because there's a chance you're not gonna do that, and it's not fair for you to say, I automatically smacked somebody. I walked up to Billy Bob and smacked him in the head. What I am enforcing that if you are going to hit someone, you need to use dice. Okay? Now if everybody is mature about it, but see, the thing is, this is where I get into this is where I get into the meat and potatoes of it. Okay? Yes, you guys should be mature and discuss what's going to happen and what is happening. Okay? But when you think about it, how is it fair that someone automatically decides what is going to occur? You should leave. Yeah, see, good. As long as you're doing it right. Well, yes, and that is great. And that is awesome. But if here, good example. God modding is bad. All right. Suddenly, it's like you can never hit me. I'm not touchable. Okay. There are only few situations with that where that is feasible. Okay. Generally speaking, that's not cool. And Good. Yes, Jalil Vixen. All right. All of those, everything you guys just said is correct. Okay. All of the everything you just said is correct. Okay. It is important that the two players discuss everything and figure everything out. But there are going to be times when one player is going to be like, I do not agree that you assassinated me. I'm too awesome. Okay? Dice has lasted for 40 years already. When Gary and I came up with dice, or actually he came up with the dice, I kind of, just went along with it. But when he came up with it 40 something years ago, it worked. And it has worked all the way till today. How is that the death? Okay. Now, yeah. Obviously, if that very, 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 very accurate. Obviously, if I have to do that, then I will have. There's a lot of work I will have to add. I will have to add. Okay. You know, I'll have to. I would have to come up with. I would have to come up with all kinds of rules to go with it. But it is for very rare situations, and I would have to come up with all of the different um, modifiers for your saving throws and your hits and your armor class, and I will sit down. You know, but there are very few situations that would be needed for. Okay? There are very few situations where that would be needed for. Generally speaking, I think that most people interact with one another on a fair level. But I think that there are a few situations when you're missing that. And that's why Paradise Roleplay exists. Exactly. Word bypassing, picking locks. You know, there are some things that people just don't want. to be able to succeed in doing. They're like, okay, I'm secure in this one thing. Whatever that happens to be, it's across, every person has their own, security blanket that they don't want anybody to be able to pick through. And everyone's guilty of that, even me. Okay? Being the magician, that makes it so that people can't get into my stuff. Okay? And that should be a unique quality. Archmage shouldn't be able to say that. Magister shouldn't be able to say that. Should be some small chance of success. No. Actually, thank you for bringing that one up, Jaluk Devere. You have to role play all that stuff. Okay? Those dice rolls and Paradise Roleplay, that's the final event. Okay? That's the final event. You've got to play it out. Okay? If you do not play it out, then your dice rolls, you already rolled a 1. Okay? The dice roll is to augment and to finalize the role play that you have been doing. If you don't role play it, the dice means jack. Because this is a role play environment. This is what we do. Role play combat is role play combat. If you just walk up to Billy Bob and then smack him upside the head and then roll a 20-sided dice and hit him in the head because you rolled a 20, and you didn't do any role play to it, no, you automatically miss. Nuh-uh. That's not how it rolls. It's to augment all the stuff that you just did. Okay? It is to add a random number generator to make a chance of not succeeding or succeeding. Okay? Okay. Here's the answer to your question there, Dina. All right. Something happened. Okay? While you were casting, a mouse ran across your shoe and it caused you to briefly, for just a moment, lose concentration. Or a moth flew across the sky, and went under your nose and you sneezed. Or, a million different possibilities. And that is, that is up to your creativity to figure out what happened to make it so that you briefly lost your spell. Okay? There should be a minute chance of failure. Okay? And it's up to you as the role player And the better role player you are, the better you're going to be able to do this. Is that, okay, I've done this 100 million times. In general, and I do. Okay, I have trust in my players. There are rare times when this is actually success. Okay? So, it's like this. Most of the time, you're not going to need to use the dice. But there are going to be times when that happens. Okay? I'll give you one example. Okay? And actually, it's already been brought up. Okay? Billy Bob slips into the room. Billy Bob's an assassin. Okay? They have been an assassin for 10 actual years. All right? And they're supposed to kill a person. Well, that person is like, no, I'm not letting you kill me. I'm not cool with that. Okay? I was like, well, that's the thing I'm supposed to do. So these two need to talk. They need to talk about it. And one person is going to say, no, I'm not allowing it. Okay? And I get that. Nobody wants to die. Okay? Some people are cooler with it than others. They're going to allow it. They're going to say, generally speaking, you will not need the dice. Okay? Generally speaking, you're not. There are going to be times that it could come in handy. Like every time you guys are in if somebody has their mic on, if you could please. All right, thank you. Okay. Now, the dice. Okay. I'm not saying that you need to use it every single event you're doing. Okay? But there are going to be times when they need to be used to settle a issue. Okay? There are going to be times that the random number generator is going to be the deciding factor if something happened or didn't. Okay? Like, picking a lock. Alright? Well, excellent. Alright. Like picking a lock. That lock sometimes, it needs to be picked. Okay? And I've already set up rules for how you pick a lock with the dice. I've already set those rules up. And it's a percentile chance. Okay? There are going to be times when that needs to be. Alright, now as far as loaded dice, you have to have a judge roll for them. Okay? And you can only use the dice that we have. You know? You cannot pick up other dice. The dice that we use are specifically, that's a good one. They are specifically scripted. They are set up. You cannot use the copies. You have to use... You cannot use the copies. I have dice on me. Okay? And my dice have not been... Yes, so a judge must roll. My dice have not been tampered with. You have to have a judge to make that call. You cannot, the players aren't doing it because, it's not that I don't trust you, but you have a vested interest in whether or not you win. It's not that I don't trust you, but you have a vested interest in whether or not you succeeded. It needs to be a judge. Judges, they don't care. That a good judge should have no vested interest whatsoever on who wins. Okay? That is what makes a good judge. Then you pick another judge. All right? That is what makes good role players. But you know what? There is always, if it gets down to a dice roll needing to be rolled, not everything is going to. But if it gets down to that, and you don't trust the judge that's online for whatever reason, because you have, personal issues with them, whatever, all right, then you wait until a judge comes on. You can't finish. That's what that means. Exactly correct. It's exactly correct. The dice roll is only needed if the two players cannot agree to the outcome. Then a judge needs to take care of that. And rather than just the judge says, oh, okay, this is what happens, the judge is going to roll their dice. That's what I'm trying to tell you. That's what I've been trying to tell you the whole time. Okay? And if you have to wait for me to be online, to be that judge dice, hey, it'll happen. It may not happen today. It may not happen tomorrow because I'm not on every day. But many of you have my phone number. So as long as I'm home, I will take care of business for you.
Mic on.
And that's good.
Mic off.
In this room, you've got Zaskia, Nifredil, Acacia, Anari, Trinity, Zandalin. Shoot, almost half this room are judges. If you are in the conclave, you need to be taking judge classes. If you haven't taken them, you should. Once you take that class, then you are technically a judge. Because all members of the conclave, yes, there are judge classes. Argolin teaches them. Yes, Argo. I know he's been working a lot, but he assured me that on the 5th he'll be back more regularly. And I can teach. As well. No, you're not the only non-clave judge. You're just the only conclave judge in the room. There are several non-conclave judges, Just in this room right now, you are the only one. Yes, and I totally agree with that. I mean, dice does not dictate all your events. The dice should be the final, event. It's if people can't agree on the outcome, then you need to call a judge in to make that dice roll. Okay? Not standard all the time. Every time you're doing a thing, you need to make a dice roll. It's if it's needed. Okay? Then a judge needs to make that call. Because there are times when that's the way that is. I'm not saying dice are mandatory for every event. Dice are mandatory, but for a final event, that when people cannot agree with what's just happened, okay, then the judge takes the dice and makes the final call. Not, I swing left, you swing right, and your whole battle is done during using dice. No, that's not what I'm talking about. Okay? That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say, if in a final solution, the dice is what is called for because people can't agree on it, then everyone has to agree that that dice roll that judge makes is final call. That's all I'm trying to say. Does that make sense? Does everyone understand that? Judge comes in, he makes a final decision, or she. Then you just have to say, all right, cool. No, that's what's decided. Just like in meter combat, if we're having a battle out there, I make calls on the battlefield for stuff, and no one argues it because they know, I made that call for a good reason. I didn't do it because I felt like doing it. I did it because it was necessary. It was the right answer. That's right. Okay, as far as thank you for bringing that up, Zan. As far as assassinations, now I don't like when a PC is eliminated in one shot. That's personal. I don't feel that is kosher, as they say. I mean, I have assassins. The Blood Knights are assassins. And you will note, never once are they sent after a player. Okay? They are not sent after players because I don't like people to be killed with one shot. It's just not fun. You know? So, usually assassinations are going to be done on NPCs, to be honest. But if an assassination is done against a player, okay, then it's not going to be a fatality. Okay? Assassination done against a player is not going to be a fatality. You know? It's going to be a knockout. Yes, Jill Vixen. See? Most people wouldn't do that. So kudos to you. And now that you are a demon, you can still be assassinated. You can still be killed. It's just takes a little harder. Okay, still fix. When it's when it's planned and role played out, hey, more power to you. But there are sometimes, situations that are not all the way, completely planned out. Yes, if you get with Billy Bob and talk to him and you guys sit down and say, all right, my assassin slips in, I want him to be able to slip in and I know you got a bunch of guards in there, okay? All your guards are NPCs. Is it okay if my assassin kills some of them? You guys need to be talking about that stuff. Okay? You guys need to be talking about stuff. All right? Yes, absolutely. Okay? I mean, that's no-brainer. You cannot slip into somebody's castle if you have not already talked to them and said it out and figured it out. Okay? You and Billy Bob need to be chatting. Yes, a demon that's killed is sent back to the abyss. Any being that is an outsider that is killed, it goes back to their original plane. Elemental, celestial, demon, devil, blah 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 blah. Sorry. All right. Now, back to what I was saying. And some people are not going to want their NPCs killed. Okay, they're going to say, all right, I'll let you knock them out. Sap, by the way, a sap is an awesome weapon to carry if you are an assassin. You should have a sap. Okay? It's a good thing to have. Not only is that dagger useful, but so is a sap. Okay? Sap is a weapon. It's basically a leather bag filled with sand. Okay. Yes. Archmage Devere. That is correct. And people should not be forced to die. Okay? And that is not what I'm telling you. Is you can force people to die. Okay? If you guys chat about it, but if it is a situation that there is no way around it, then you need to talk to a judge and figure it out. Okay. The reason let me give you an example. Okay. Let's say that Billy Bob is has to be killed for whatever reason. There's no way that Billy Bob cannot be killed. Alright? Because they are the end plug for an event. Okay. Alright. Well, when you get to that, and Billy Bob does not want to die, then guess what? That's going to turn into a GA battle. Alright? Because I'm not going to force Billy Bob to die. Okay? Alright? You need to be working with your judges on those on those situations. And that is, you got it right there. If Billy Bob knows that he's gonna die, hey, it's gonna happen, dude. You signed the dotted line. You said, hey, I'm playing this role, and the end of this role is death. You made that decision. You know. So, if it's a planned assassination, hey, cool. It's all good. If it's planned, then hey, it's planned. Okay? If it's not planned, but it has to happen, work with your judges. Okay? Can't think of a perfect example of that because I can't think of any time that would actually happen. But hey, I am not perfect. But I am in agreement that things does happen. Okay. If the Ruvians decide to kill you because you go over there and take Lark, then it becomes a battle. the dice roll only will come into play if not everyone agrees on the outcome. And then you have to call in a judge. All right, let's use your example. Okay? You slip over, all right, let's just say for giggles, you decide to slip over to Rue and pull Lark out of prison and break her out or whatever. Okay? And everyone says no. We don't want that to happen, and so they attack you. Okay? Then a battle is going to ensue at that point. Okay? It's probably not going to be if it's a role play battle at that point, then you're gonna have to be doing a lot of role play to get out of there. And if it's not agreed that you can escape, then they have to role play well what they did to stop you. And if what they did to stop you was feasible enough to call in a judge to make that final die roll, then that's different. All right. Did you catch everything I said? They have to have done enough role play versus the role play that you have done to make a reasonable argument. The argument has to be enough to call in a judge. And if you already have Lark and you've already left and no one stopped you, then it's too late for that. You have to have already been there. Okay. I'm not sure where you're going. You're gonna have to what you're trying to ask is, you already did this thing, and now someone wants to kill you. If a die roll can be forced. No, you can't. Yeah. What? Okay. No, you need to be talking to your judge. Okay? You can't, and people can't force you to die. Okay? But if you guys already agreed on it, yeah, that's different. Okay? But you cannot just say, hey, you know what? I killed you. Now you take a dice roll to find out if you actually died. Okay. There has to be more to it than that. If enough of an argument can be presented to it, then a dice roll can be taken. If those two agree with it, okay? If they agree with it. If they don't agree with it, then then the worst that can happen is that, quote unquote, worst that can happen is that they can be sapped. Okay? I am not going to kill a player against their will in roleplay. Death happens, but, in roleplay, not so much. But they can be sapped. Okay? Yes. And just because someone's sapped does not mean they get dragged away, by the way, just so everyone knows. Because I'm not into the capture roleplay thing. I'm not a Korean, so I don't play that game. If it's planned, it's different. But not just to slip up behind somebody, sap them, and run off with them. I don't play that game. Just saying them. Just because someone's sapped, yes, sap means rendered unconscious. Exactly. Zaskia, I'm sorry, what was your question? You should be running deep with your players, talking about stuff. Yes. Zand is pretty good on that one. Okay, I'm looking at Zoskia's question. Ah, so you're saying that captured person has a wards that makes it so um, they can lie. Okay? There are some people who can lie. So, alright. If they cannot agree, then you call a judge in. Okay? Mage casting a truth spell is going to work on most everyone. There are a few exceptions. If you have wards against it, all right, and then a mage casts it, and you cannot agree on it, then you call a judge in. Because now you're looking at a spell battle. Okay? And levels are totally totally effective when it comes to spell battles. Just like picking locks. Okay? Just like picking locks. Your level and the level of the lock matters. Okay? Two spells trying to go against each other, the levels are going to matter. Okay? And that's when dice come in play. Because there's going to be, and sometimes it's a very small chance, but there's going to be a chance that the lower level spell can break the higher level spell. It's not a very good chance, but it is there. Okay? It's just like picking locks. Okay? So, trying to break that lying ward with a truth spell You know, if you are higher level, then you're going to do better. All right, now if you have, yeah, if you have a ring from the magician, it's going to increase the chances that you can succeed. All right, regardless, because that is, a higher level. If you have a magic item, then you are rolling, and your ward, whatever, is rolling from the level of the caster, not the level that you are. Okay? Let's say, for the sake of argument, that you are a level 1 and you have a ring from me that makes it so that you cannot, so that you can lie and with no problems. All right. Well, then your ring from me has my level. Even though you're level 1, you're not rolling at your level, you're rolling at my level. Yes, you're rolling at the level of the creator, not your own level. All right. And no, Deanon doesn't have a ring created by me. But, actually, I almost gave him one, but he refused it at tea one day. I'm not saying... Yeah. Makes perfect sense. But, anyway... If that, the point is there. If it's a magic item, then you're rolling against the creator's level, not the character's level. But it is. No, go ahead and ask. It's not off topic. No, that's not correct. Um, God's items, and no deity has items that is untouchable. Okay, all right. The magician is a deity, and if you can get through his stuff, you can get through anybody's stuff. It's not easy, but it can be done. Yes, you can. So it's not a zero. There's not a 0% chance. Okay. Bag of holding, banana hammock. If you use a banana hammock inside of a bag of holding, you just destroyed your bag of holding. You can put it inside, yes, but you can't use it inside. You can put it inside, but you can't use it inside. If you use it inside of it, it implodes. It doesn't explode, but you're close. It implodes, and you just... So don't do that. Now you can bring it inside your banana hammock. Alright? But don't open it up inside the banana hammock. Don't do it. You can bring it inside there, cool, no problem. But don't open it. Yes, because it is a sealed pocket dimension, it's fine. But as soon as you open it, it's gonna implode. You destroyed both your items. And you with it probably, depending on where you are. Yes. Pocket dimensions are pocket dimensions. Okay. Regular portals, no, but let's say that you had a portable hole. That is a magic item. Okay. And that would be treated in the same way. Okay. That would be treated in the same way. Also, rope trick. Rope trick spell would be treated in the same way too. We either thought of it at the same time, or you're in the same wavelength I am there, Zand. Rope trick. It does, you craft a pocket dimension with that spell. So do not cast that if you're inside the banana hammock. You cannot teleport into a pocket dimension. No. You can teleport out, but you cannot teleport in. Yes. Teleport is plane to plane. There are dimension doors, but you can teleport out because you already know the space you're going to. Okay. But you cannot teleport in. Yes, must be a door into a pocket dimension. All pocket dimensions have a door. Rope trick. Bag of holding. Banana hammock. All examples. There is a door. There is a gate. Exactly correct. And it's a pocket dimension because it is finite. Okay? It is a certain amount of space. and there's nothing beyond that. Yeah? Tell him not to use it inside banana hammock. I don't know why anybody would be inside their own bag of holding, but that would be weird. But if that was ever to happen, don't use your portable hole inside of it. Because portable hole punctures the pocket dimension. And then again, you're looking at implosion. Yes. Yep. Banana hammock and rope trick both do the same thing. Gives you a little hiding spot. Go ahead and ask. If the doorway is destroyed, generally speaking, yes. If you destroy the door, you destroyed the access to the pocket dimension. Doesn't necessarily mean the pocket dimension itself is destroyed, but you destroyed access to it, so it might as well be destroyed. But not necessarily. Yes, that's pretty good. So negative material plane, nether energy, yes. And that's a pretty good way to play it because, that is what that's what the black flowers did. Is that what you're asking my opinion on? If it is, then yeah, you're doing it right. Yeah, yeah, doing it perfect, man. Exactly how I would have done it. Okay. So the night gate is doing black flowers thing. Makes perfect sense. Interesting. Okay. Cool. Any other questions? Comments? Inquiries? Alright. Cool. Xandil is correct. That is accurate about rope trick. You know, So always pull your rope up after you. Nice thing about banana hammock is you don't have a rope. But it is basically the same spell. Except it's filled with bananas, so you got all kinds of eats. Okay. Anything else? All good? Alright. Then I'm going to go ahead and close this down for now. And I will see you all later. Belados for your attendance. Bendaus for now.